Hi Muses, it's been a while. How are you hanging out with all the things? Home, online learning, no daycare, so the 2-year-old's at home. I'm hiding in my bedroom so I can do these kind of videos and yell and rant without having to attract more attention and their constant need to be near me. But if you're not already inside Mindful Muses, which is my free group, please get your butt in there. If you're looking for creative resources and training in order to step into being the muse and the creative that you want to be, to design a life of joyful purpose, in connection with the muse, with your creativity, Mindful Muses is the space for that. I'm going to be talking about how to be the creative, to step into that next chapter for you, whether that is to get back into your creative work, to find your creative spark and to actually start using your creativity again and to actually feel like a creative, or whether it is to step into having a clear creative voice and having a body of work that you can feel like is your own and has a message that you want and says what you want to say. And if you want to then bring that creative voice and that creative body of work into being a business, what does that look like? How do you make your first sales? All those kind of things. Mindful Muses, check it out. I'm going to be relaunching Muse Mojo soon, which is my membership mastermind. That's going to be for those who are ready to step into being a leader as a muse and what that looks like in terms of mindset and mastery of being a creative and being a muse and leading a community and creating work and all the stuff. And you get access to all my courses. So definitely message me to get onto the waitlist to hear about Muse Mojo. There's probably links all around the internet somewhere. You can sneak in now before all the prices increase and stuff. But I was doing trainings inside Mindful Muses and doing an interview, and it was a whole bunch of stuff I've been thinking about. And I realized this annoys me. And I want to check in myself before I start ranting and say something that I'm going to have to like apologize or defend myself on. But then again, I'm here. And if you're here checking out me, Brenda Mangalore, I'm the artist. I paint. I'm hiding in my bedroom right now because I know how to weave my creative work and my art business with having babies at home, even before this whole pandemic thing, right? But the thing I was realizing that people were thinking, because a lot of creatives come to me inside my Mindful Muses group, right? And it's this idea, and I didn't realize it, but there's this undercurrent, unspoken thing somehow that, and correct me if you don't agree, definitely put in the comments below. I would have to politely probably, it is what it is. This is my opinion. There's this undercurrent feeling where somehow if you make art just for you, like just for you, and I'm talking not just like as a throwaway hobby, like those people who like to tell me that they're 5-year-olds making art the way I do. Oh, look, Brenda, this is like the work that you do. And I totally get the sentiment, and I'm glad that they remember me and they know me as an artist and stuff. And it's only slightly insulting, especially when I'm in wild mode. If you don't know about your modes, your soul modes, definitely check that out from Carly Marie, one of my biz besties. Especially in wild mode, I get slightly offended because it's like, I'm pretty sure I have a lot more intentionality and soulful connection and compositional and color skills than your 5-year-old does. But let's say you make art as a grown-up, as an adult, that feels like it's a form of expression, full expression, a way for you to connect to your spirituality, to your soul, to a way of like being able to articulate emotions and thoughts and personalities and values and all the things that you can't articulate with words, right? But your creative work allows you to do that. So whether that's writing poetry or playing music or learning a language or baking or cooking or, I don't know, sewing dresses, or whether it's painting like I do, somehow, for some reason, if you can do all those things and have it as a way that gives you joy and allows you to find joy and purpose in it, and it helps you escape the chaos and craziness of life, but at the same time gives you this sense of joy that you get to share it with other people, whatever it is, seems to be this undercurrent of like thinking, which I don't agree with, that somehow that work is not as good as Brenda's work, because she sells it as a business. Like she sells her art like a professional, right? Like the official technical term of being a professional artist is someone who gets paid for it, right? Now, whole bunch of stuff, of conversations we can be had. We know many, those of us in the industry, and you've probably been hanging around, or you've probably seen work that is for sale, that does sell, that you're like, I don't know what that is. That is not good art. And you're probably talking about skill set here, or the style, or the themes, or the whatever it is. But yet there seems to be this thinking that unless you sell your work is not good enough because you're just doing it for yourself. And I so much to say, and I'm also kind of slightly speechless about that, because if you can have a creative outlet and it allows you to express yourself, and you get to have this soul connection, and you get to have this sense of divine communion, right? Whatever your words are, you know, like to escape or to like feel like you have something, you know, I'm assuming this is like what runners do. They just run for the joy of running, right? And I obviously don't. But if you have something just for you and you enjoy it and you find purpose in it, who are you, or whoever it is that's telling you this or making you feel this way? Who are they to say that your work is not as good as, it's not good unless you start selling it? This is where well-meaning family and friends, whatever, is like, oh, that's really beautiful. You should really start selling it. You should sell it. It's so good. It's so beautiful. You should sell it. And I always laugh because what you don't realize is that a business is another art form. Creating a business is another art form. It's different to like being an employee. When you have a job and you're working for another company, you're just a small part of a bigger machine that is the company. When you start your own business, you're creating that machine. And that form of creation is another art form. It just looks like spreadsheets and marketing plans and sales skills and knowing customer service and, you know, how to do fulfillment and looking at operations. And it just has different words, but it is another art form. It might not be, you know, colors and paints and how to package it and how to, you know, talk about it, how do you title it and all those kind of things. But it's another art form. And just like the art form that took you a while, I'm assuming that's why you're really good at making cupcakes or decorating them and making those fancy, you know, like those people who make those cakes and it's like freaking beautiful. It's like iced flowers and it's like amazing. Or like you're a someone who can, you know, write music and create music and it's fantastic and it's beautiful and you play the piano beautifully for your church, whatever it is. Or you are painting, you know, you're playing with watercolors and all that stuff. It probably took you a few years to get your skill set to a certain level where you're like decent enough that other people are telling you that you should sell it. But for some reason now you feel like you can just start selling it and not recognizing that it's another art form. And then you're getting shitty because you're like, oh, but I don't know how to like do sales and I don't know how to price it and I don't know what marketing plans are and therefore I can't start this business. And so there's this whole two different lines of thinking now, but it is another art form. And so unless you're truly being called, because as a creative and you're creating the work that I hope you're being called to create, right? Like you're not doing something just because you should be. Like I feel like I cook because I have to in order to like make my family not die from starvation, right? For my kids. But then there's the people who are cooking because they love it. They love the process. They love the creativity that goes into it. They love following recipes. They love, you know, inventing new ways of doing things. And I kind of enjoy it too. I need to step back into it a bit more and use my creativity in that way. But when they do that and it's a form of creative expression, that is so different to when you're having to sell it. It's like saying an apple is better than an orange when really, even though they're both kind of fruits because they're both creative forms, like creating your own artwork, creating a business is different art forms. They both require work. They require that you are actually being called to do it. They do require that you give it the time and the dedication and the attention and the energy that you need in order to do it. They require that you fully decided and you're gonna like put in the effort to up your skill set. Because like I always say, creativity is a habit, not a skill. Everyone has creativity. It might come out in different forms and different ways, and different days have different forms and different ways. But your creativity might require you to use certain skill sets like painting, making a spreadsheet, knowing your scales on a musical and your musical notes, whatever it is. it might require you to use certain skill sets in order to bring whatever creative form is being calling you to bring to life. But this idea that unless your painting isn't good enough unless you start selling it, it just dismisses and blanket covers in a very bad way for a lot of creatives and holds you back. It's just another lie that your resistance and your fear is using to hold you back from finding joy. If you were not meant to sell your work, you're not called to create a business, you're not willing and have not decided and do not desire in any way to create this whole other art form, which is business, right? And you just want to paint for the joy of painting, your fear and your resistance is holding your joy back from your life. And who are they, or who are you to tell that to yourself? If you are being called to create a business or whatever it is, then you have to recognize that your work is always right now going to feel like it's not quite as good as you want it to be. And same with business. When you first step into it, you don't know anything because your skill set's a bit shit. Just like when you first started painting or whatever it is that you do. It's going to be like, you're going to have to take time. You're going to have to learn. You're going to invest in teachers or in coaches or in courses or in like finding a community where you can learn from. And I, again, will have to go on another rant and I don't have time for that right now because I can feel my toddler's about to wake up and then come in here. Where it's like, yes, definitely. I have a free group too. Come join me inside Mindful Muses if you like hanging out with this and listening to me rant and to teach you all my creative resources and trainings, all that kind of stuff. Definitely check me out in there. But the stuff I teach in there, although amazing, totally putting my hand up for that, is still very different to if you are working with me as a client. Right now, I am offering MUSE Momentum intensives for those who are not ready to work with me for the solid 12 weeks, which is what a MUSE Momentum one-on-one package is. But you just have questions. You just want to be able to map out a plan, right? Not that it's not going to be a day-by-day, minute-to-minute plan because we're creatives and that doesn't work. We just need clear containers so that we can like be chaotic and creative in. I can help you map that out for your next 90 days. You have the time now. You have the space now, even though it doesn't feel like it. But pandemic or not, life is always full of chaos. Nothing was ever really normal anyway. And there's always uncertainty. And your fear and your resistance will always use it. And so there's actual skill sets that you can learn. There are actually resources and practices that you can put in place. There are actual mindset shifts that you can just make. Because I know in my journey of my own business and my paintings and finding my creative voice and really learning the whole business side of things and really finding my creativity just for myself and finding joy in it again, it was just little shifts. Like just one or two aha moments that really can set my soul on fire to then really go in the direction that I needed to go, because I didn't realize that I was like 5 degrees off course. And if I had kept going, I would have been like 180 degrees off course. And all you need is just that little shift, those mindset shifts. You just have to map out that plan. And included in that intensive, you're going to get 2 weeks of Voxer access where it's like text messaging or voice messaging 2 weeks after that as you're implementing it. Because usually what happens when you finally decided and you step up and you have a plan, resistance and fear really then steps up to try and squash you. And so I find those 2 weeks, if you can really keep pushing those fears and resistance down and really have that process of embracing it and knowing it, acknowledging it, but moving forward anyway, it helps get that momentum going. That's the name of the whole package. Gets that momentum going, and then you know how to step in from there. Okay, so definitely DM me to ask me for links for that intensive. It's 90 minutes. We can do so much in 90 minutes and really plan out for your next 90 days, whether it is to really step up and showing up consistently, because a lot of the time it's like, oh, I'm not sure that my art is good enough yet. And I feel all this self-doubt because you don't have a clear, distinct voice, because you don't have enough courage and clarity that you already have a creative voice and you're just not seeing it. We can really dig deep to really work out a plan so that you can develop that and have a clear body of voice, so then you can really make it a business or decide that, hey, this is actually not for me. Because I think sometimes in the act of creating the kind of work that you need to create consistently in order to make a business, most people realize either A, they don't have the discipline for it, but also B, they don't have the desire for it. It was something that they felt like they should do in order to prove that their work was worthy, when really It was meant to be about joy and passion, and their purpose was in other areas. While there'll be some who are like, no, I know I need to sell my work. I've always known that my paintings was never just for me. It was meant to be for other people. And so you need to have a body of work. You need to have a clear, distinct voice. You need to know what it means to be a professional, because a lot of the time it isn't your lack of a website or a lack of a logo or a lack of like, I don't know, 1,000, 10, 100,000 people on social media in order to finally feel confident enough to claim yourself as an artist to start selling your work. A lot of the time, this is where you can see the shitty, whatever your term for shitty artwork is, that still sells. It's because they have skill sets in marketing and storytelling and in selling. They've built a community. They know what they're creating and it's for their people that they need, and it brings joy in their lives. And they know what they're doing because they've created a business that is another art form and they're really good at that art form. A lot of the time it's a mindset thing. It's little shifts. This is what I wanted to have and to be able to offer for you in an intensive, because I couldn't do this in live streams and little video trainings that I do inside Mindful Muses or in little snippets of Instagram stories, because I know that a lot of the time you're going to feel it. Oh, but Brenda, you don't understand my situation. I don't have a lot of time. You know, I have kids at home. I have 2 kids at home. I've painted more with a newborn at home plus a toddler. Well, she was a preschooler at home. I painted more then than I ever did before kids. I was more confident and clear about my business and how to market and how to sell with 2 kids than I ever was with 1 or with 0. I understand the fear and the freaking out and the way that our lies and our resistance is really clever, because it's you, really clever with like using reasonable and totally logical reasons for why you're not good enough yet. You don't feel confident or ready enough yet. You need to do more research so that you can be even clearer. And yet those are all lies. If you've decided, if you can recognize that, who are they to tell you that your art's not good enough? You are the one that have to decide. This is truly what I want. I definitely want to go in this direction. I definitely want to start painting again. I definitely want to like create a body of work. I want to feel like I know what I'm doing with my creativity so that I can claim myself as an artist that I know that I am. I definitely want to start a business. I want to start offering my art online now. We have the time. We're at home all the time and I'm seeing those empty walls, and I know that other people are too. You are the one that can tell you that you're good enough or not. That sense of worthiness you're going to have to only find within, because you're always finding it from outside. Then you're never going to feel good enough. You're always going to find reasons for why you're unworthy and whatever it is. Talk to me about getting an intensive and getting on my calendar for that and scheduling that in. We can really dig deep, find what that mindset shift that you're going to need, and a lot of the time it's just lies that your resistance and your fear is telling you, and you can stop that now. You might choose to either stay in that, because sometimes it's more comfortable to stay in that pain of fear and freak out and why you're unworthy, than it is to finally step forward and go, you know what, no, I am good enough. I'm not going to keep facing my fear, and I'm going to take those steps forward no matter how small they are, because I know that they all add up in my favor, and I'm going to start stepping towards my dreams, right? Then we will actually map out a plan for your next 90 days, because I know that all these good feelings and planning and thinking, this is what we're really good at, like all this thinking and thinking and thinking, but clarity will never truly come until you take action. And so we will map out a plan so that you can definitely take the action that you need, however small that is, and then you have 2 weeks of my support in there. And this will also at the same time give you a taste of what it's like to work with me long term, because I know when I've worked long term with coaches, and having them in my pocket, because some days you're like feeling really good and you're like, yeah, I am the boss and I can do this thing, and you're like on fire and do all these things, and then other days everyone's shitting you, children are freaking out, no one is sleeping, you haven't eaten yet, you haven't even showered yet, you're still in your pajamas. And those are the days that can really spiral and really like snowball downwards. And all you need is have someone in your pocket to really like remind you of who you are and who you decided to be, and that who you want to become is already within you, and to remind you what your dreams are, and then that you already have access to all the resources and tools that you need within you to actually take those steps forward. That's what I'm here for. Join me inside Mindful Muses if you're not already in there, to learn more resources and hear more trainings from me for free. Otherwise, if you know you want to have a plan and you want to map it out, and you know that you just want to go in a general direction, but you're not even clear what those steps are, but you know that it isn't where you are right now and you need to do something about it, and just swirling around online and scrolling isn't helpful at all, and it's just even more information and just adds to the overwhelm and adds to the paralyzing, then DM me to get the link to get schedule an intensive so that we can really dig deep, make a plan, map out a path for you moving forward, so that when you come out of this pandemic and this isolation time, or even if you're watching this later, whatever period this season is in, do you want to come out of it with more clarity, more productivity, more prolific work? Know that you have a clear creative habit so that you can show up consistently despite the uncertainty and chaos that life is always going to bring, regardless of whether there's a pandemic or not. Because I don't know about you, but I have 2 kids at home and they're under 7, under 6, 7. Well, the older one's 6. And I know life is always going to be chaotic. And there's someone who gets sick, or there's like freaking school changes, or there's like daycare issues and no naps, and toilet training is coming up next. You know, there's always going to be chaos and uncertainty in life and in world, and life is throwing at me, and that's what it's supposed to do. That's how we learn to adapt and flow with it. And my creativity and my creative practice is my anchor to be able to show up, to grow, to be the muse and leader that I know I'm being called to be. And I want that for you too. That's all I have for you today. I just wanted you to remember that as a creative, as a muse, you have a calling. You can dare to take those desires seriously and take the first step today. I will see you guys soon. Bye.